Hello, we are a group that consists of Samantha Elam, Cole Hagan, Jonathan Harris, David Delosier, and Josh Carmen. And this is our week 7 video response to the toxic behavior case. And we begin with Kathy Elster and Catherine Crowley. They are authors who wrote about the people you encounter daily in the workplace that sometimes get on your nerves, and they call these people toxic coworkers. One toxic coworker is the boundary buster. Now, according to Elster and Crowley, a boundary buster will sit too close to you and talks too loudly as well. So he or she is basically busting through that boundary of what is accepted or respectable behavior in the workplace. This type of behavior can be annoying, but is it considered one of the more problematic toxic coworker behaviors? Now, boundary busters could cause someone to leave an organization over a longer period of time, mainly because their behaviors are small annoyances. And I would say that an easy way to address coworkers with this behavior is to tell them in a respectful way that what the boundaries are in the workplace. And now we'll move on to the next 2 toxic behaviors with Sam.
Okay, so the next toxic behavior is the exploder. Exploder is considered one of the most extreme problems at work. They are people who will just blow up from time to time without cause or warning, and they will use harsh words and tend to scream. Let's face it, nobody likes getting yelled at. Once someone has started their blow up, it's too late to do something. We should be focusing more on prevention. During their explosion, it's important to just let them blow and not to defend yourself or walk away. Just listen to them even if it is uncomfortable. Sometimes you need to let them rant because that will help them cool off a little bit more quickly. Once the blow-up is over, this is when you can anticipate their guilt and tell them that you understand. You will often find that they are generally very eager to forgive. As mentioned before, it's important to allow time to cool off. Once they are cooled off, then you can make sure that your concerns were heard. One more thing to consider is to think about what may cause a blow-up so that future explosions won't be as unpredictable. The next toxic behavior is space invaders. These are considered to be the ones who like to waste everyone's time. They are always leaning over into your cubicle, invading your space. These people tend to be extremely annoying. To solve this problem, you must confront the person. You have to let them know that you enjoy speaking with them and you care about them. Tell them that you can have lunch, grab a cup of coffee, or just take a break together when you're at work. But when you're at work, it breaks the concentration of your job and you need to be focusing on your work. Now we can move on to the next toxic behavior.
The next toxic behavior is credit stealers. Credit stealers are those who steal credit that belong to someone else. Sometimes, in other words, what you have to do for the credit stealer, the idea first, set the record straight. Sometimes these credit stealers come from your boss or from co-workers. I got this information from Kathy Eastler and Catherine Crowley from the Tate film that we had present. First idea, let's set it straight. Second, in other words, if a situation someone stole your idea, make it plain, understood, maybe in a meeting, and you would basically just say, yes, I told such this idea. In other words, set the record straight. Second, follow up with a private conversation with that individual to get an understanding what had happened in that meeting. So in other words, you'd be on the same page. And then after that, third step will be repeat that same situation if it tends to happen again. So in other words, when people steal your credit, if you don't speak up, you will get that opportunity. You may lose that chance of recognizing that you one came up with the idea. They said when it comes down to a supervisor or a boss, it is very difficult to try to bring that attention to that supervisor or that boss. So an idea usually people tend to leave the company because of the fact that it is that they're not being recognized. My input toward that is maybe write a memo and copy that memo to the upper hand, his supervisor, or in general to everyone that's about your idea, and about that idea, give it on to someone else. So that becomes more your personalized, and this is your idea. Now going to the next one.
Okay, so the next toxic behavior present in the workplace was the saboteur. And going over the video, Kathy and Catherine brought up the fact that saboteurs will be the ones that are nice to your face but stab you in the back. There are different reasons for this. Sometimes it can take the form of inflicting damage to an organization, property, reputation, or products that the organization creates. And there are a variety of reasons for this. Sometimes they're seeking, like in some of the other cases, they're seeking credit, or they want to hurt an employee or a manager because they did something to them, or it's jealousy. So it can take a variety of forms. In order to address this, it's difficult to confront it in the beginning. It's easier, instead of to confront it, to talk about what the organization is for. So from a manager's perspective, discuss the core values and personal responsibility expected within the organization. If you're confronting a true saboteur, don't coach this person, because they're in it to inflict damage on, again, property or people. So they don't really care if they're confronted. And at some points, if they won't change, to coach the other people that are around them, so that those expectations are come across through the actions of the fellow employees. And worst case scenario is to remove them from the company entirely. Now on to the next toxic behavior.
The last toxic behavior is empty pit. From the McGraw-Hill management video, empty pit was defined as someone who's starts out nice and turns needy. It was quoted that they never want to take your advice either. So they'll have a bunch of issues and problems, but they'll never end up taking your advice. What I've learned from the video was a quote that you're not going to change these toxic behaviors of people. You need to learn to accept them and devise a plan to manage them for the betterment of yourself and the company. So the power source that I would choose for this toxic behavior of empty pit is similar to Robert Stemple, CEO of General Motors, found from our text. And I quote, "Robert had a history of being non-traditional. He possessed the rare talent of being able to raise objections without sounding critical. He was known as a boss who really listened to his people." The reason I would choose to be similar to Robert is because I want to be someone who cares about the people I lead, but also is able to challenge them in many ways. What I've learned from this assignment is I want to lead these people, but I need to create space from empty pit people. And an idea that I have that I can implement is set up meeting times with these people so that my time is not wasted more than the scheduled meeting time. Reason being, from Proverbs 16:24, it states, "Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to taste and health to the body." I believe that if I surround myself with people who will build me up or speak positive words and not complain and not be needy, not take my time, it'll be more healthy for myself, and I can lead and manage those around me more effectively. That's the last toxic behavior.
We want to the question of identify the source of power that may affect for each toxic behavior, identify what adverse impact of the noted behavior. Okay, identify first those who talk loud turkeys. An example, let them rant on and continue on until they cool off. That's a way of trying to avoid or to bring down that type of loud talking personality. Credit stealers, take a deep breath and admit that this is your idea, and maybe in front of others, you know what I'm saying, and admit the idea that this belongs to you, because you may not get that opportunity to admit that idea again, so if you lose that opportunity. Those who explore code, and yell at others, kind of give them their space. Hopefully they will cool down. According to Kathy and Catherine, the space invaders, an idea for that, most ways we can have a conversation after get off, because I'm busy right now. So in other words, you're not losing face, you're not losing relationship, you're letting them know that my support is important at this moment. Empty pit person can bad baggage up on you, as was said. You can try to ignore that and try to on their own, listen to them for a moment, allow them to go on to their space of their time. The 3 Ds that you talked about is detaching yourself. In other words, do not take it personal. Depersonalize. Not being. It's not all about you. It's again realize this is not personal. It's not about you. And diffuse a plan. In other words, how can I deal with this later on? When this person, when these toxic behaviors happens again, a lot of chaos and toxic vibes and unproductivity happens and occurs with when a chemical space is turned into mind. So in other words, when you have all this type of toxic going on in a workplace, it can cause, like I said, chaos, toxic vibe, and unproductivity. So in other words, how we can change. We have to try these different antidotes, such as, like I said, ignore it, talk, communicate, and so that it would cease. Because if it continues on, like I said, it can cause people to leave their job or want to move on to a job, different job, and then to next.
Okay, and so I have an example of a coworker who exhibited not 1 but 3 different toxic behaviors. The individual was at first both a boundary buster and a space invader. This person enjoyed to talk a lot at work, eventually wasting myself and other coworkers' time. At first it was annoying, but then it began to become a problem for many of the employees there. So we decided to get together and we each talked with this individual face to face and tried to address the problem. This individual would most of the time come back with an excuse of something like something outside work, like personal finances or relationships were bothering them. It was from this point on that this person then became an empty pit and complaining about the issues that they would have both outside and inside the workplace. This person became very needy. We offered up advice, but unfortunately, like Cole mentioned, this person wouldn't take it, wouldn't take advice from us, and the behavior kept going on. The more interaction you would have with this person, the more they would bring you down with their problems. It came that everyone tried their very best to have the least amount of interactions with this individual because of what was happening. Eventually, what happened is we all had to ignore these problems that this person was bringing to us each and every day, because it was basically hampering our own work that we were doing in the workplace. And eventually this individual ended up leaving the organization. And so that's an example of a coworker that I dealt with who had toxic behavior. And that completes our response to the toxic behaviors video for week 7. Thank you.